Finally, after a month of protests, Maricela Escobedo thought she had won. An appellate court found Sergio guilty of murdering Maricela's daughter, Ruby, and sentenced him to 50 years in prison. But it was too late. Sergio had already left town again, and again, the authorities didn't seem to be looking for him. So her son Juan says Maricela went to the last place the killer had been found. Not Juarez, but that town hundreds of miles away, Fresnillo.
He was there.
He was there.
Living a life like a family man with another girl, with new babies, new family.
How hard was it for you and your mother to find Sergio?
Not hard at all.
This is where Maricela's story became the ultimate symbol of crime's grip on Mexico. And it became even clearer why the police hadn't picked Sergio up. Because Juan says that Sergio had actually joined up with a drug cartel known as the Zetas. Made up of former Mexican special forces, the Zetas are considered the most brutal cartel in all of Mexico. U.S. and Mexican law enforcement blame them for such atrocities as last year's massacre of 72 migrants, and in February, the killing of a U.S. special agent. And why wouldn't the police be interested in going after one of the Zetas? This man, carefully hiding his face, can provide some answers. For decades, he was a police commander. But listen to what he has to say about just how close some police are to the drug business.
The narcos can buy anyone. They pay off the police, the customs, the immigration officials.
Just how deep is the corruption? The reason he won't show his face is because for all those years, at the same time he was a police commander, he was also a hitman, a sicario for the Juarez cartel.
I'm going to tell you about 20 years of my life dedicated to serving narco trafficking, the cartel, serving them with these hands, torturing and killing people.
He left his life as a sicario in late 2007. Now he's telling that grim story in a documentary and book, El Sicario, by Molly Malloy and Charles Bowden. Bowden, an author who's been following the drug trade for 25 years, was the first to connect with a sicario, has checked him out thoroughly, and is convinced he is the real deal. Bowden says that along the way, he learned something shocking about his source. He wasn't a man who started out as a cop and turned bad. He actually began as a young cartel thug and only joined the police at the suggestion of the cartel.
They say, look, you're going to the State Police Academy.
How is it possible that a drug cartel leader could choose who he wants to go to the State Police Academy?
See these hands? That's the Mexican government and the drug organizations. That's how it works.
In fact, the sicario says in a class of 200, there were actually 50 police cadets on the cartel payroll. And some top Mexican officials have been found taking large sums of money from the cartels, including a chief of the Attorney General's Organized Crime Investigations Division and a drug czar. And it's not just Mexico. The cartels have been paying American officials as well, like this Border Patrol officer who was convicted of taking $5 million in exchange for letting tons of marijuana into the U.S. The sicario says that as a police cadet, he even spent time training with the FBI across the border in Tucson, all while being a member of the cartel. Imagine a hitman on the payroll of the cartels being promoted to commander of the Juarez Police Anti-Kidnapping Squad.
So he's doing the kidnapping for the cartels and investigating the kidnapping.
He said it would actually happen that they would have snatched somebody, kidnapped him. Then he'd get back to the office and his phone would ring and it would be the family reporting that one of their loved ones was missing. And he's the guy who took the person.
How is that possible? How does that go on?
In a country of poverty, drugs are an enormous business, and everybody wants a piece of it. The government wants a piece of it, the police want a piece of it, the army wants a piece of it, and everybody gets a piece of it.
The sicario says his team cruised the streets in a squad car, waiting for the right moment to kidnap their quarry. Then,
the day of a kidnapping, we'd order the police chief to call a meeting for all personnel. The message is, clear the streets. We're going to work.
their victims were usually people who owed money to the cartel. but he'd also procure women for the boss. He'd use this pitch that was part temptation, part menace.
Listen, if you agree to come with us, you'll stay for a week in the best hotel on the best beach, and you'll have a very pleasant week. Many, many women went along with it, and they are alive. But many others believed that they could outsmart us, and I never saw them again.
The Sicario believes he killed hundreds in an environment where it was difficult to distinguish between the good guys and the bad guys. Which may explain why Maricela was having so much trouble trying to bring Sergio Barraza to justice. She knew she was up against some very powerful and very dangerous people. It may also explain what was about to happen to her.